I mean, through my editing and whatnot. But yeah, it was a good trip and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the way back, we were in a hotel room. We stayed at the Holiday Inn on the way back so we could get up way early in the morning so we could get board a plane. And in the evening, I actually, though I had to get up very early in the morning, I ended up staying up too late because there was a program on PBS. PBS is excellent, by the way, called America at a Crossroads. It's actually a series. And the first one dealt with, I forgot exactly what. It was solid, though. And then the second one, they were back to back and I had to watch them. The second one actually dealt with the Israeli-Palestine issue. And it dawned on me as I was watching this that I haven't discussed it yet. As you know, I'm a Jewish convert to Judaism, and you know, everyone assumes that if you're a Jew, you fall on one side of the political whatever. And I've told you I'm rather ill-informed. I don't keep up with politics. I really don't. And in saying so, I had actually forgotten that that was a major debate. That is a major debate going on right now. One that's been going on, from what I gather, for hundreds of years, but most recently since the official creation of Israel. The America endorsed Israel. And pretty wild, pretty wild. I will say, I watched it. It had some students over in New York and it had some students over in California, and they were discussing a number of things, and eventually they met up, the two head honchos for these two, you know, decidedly pointed parties, and it was rather interesting because they noted at the end that they agree with one another in regard to the socio-political context of all the neighboring states. But in the case of Israel and Palestine and all that, they were totally at odds, though they appreciated one another's stance ultimately. I'll tell you straight up, another big part of my context is I really am so ill-informed that I couldn't really form a solid opinion on this issue. From what I gather, I think the whole thing is designed to be problematic. You know, I've heard a few sides say a few things, and I really don't stand on any side of the fence. Frankly, it's sad, it's unfortunate, but it's also, you know, it's a territory issue, you know. What makes it really complicated is, of course, on both sides, it's territorial, it's political, it's religious, it's cultural. I mean, it's all kinds of things. So it really complicates the issue and fascinates a fair many. Though for me, it's so just twisted, you know, that I can't really handle it. I don't really feel it as though I should or could, or I just have no desire to handle it. So, for those of you wondering out there where I stand on the Israel-Palestine issue, whatever. Whatever. I do hope that they come to peace rather than come to terms rather than to fisticuffs, as they've done. I hope they chill out on that. It'd be very nice. Yeah, I really don't have a stance on that, which maybe is odd. A movie that we saw over in at Green Mountain College, excuse me. I mentioned Green Mountain College because I appreciate the hosting. The bulk of the campus, and certainly the people who run the place, don't really know that I was even there with my wife, because it was on the break, no one was there. But we were actually being hosted by an RA. My wife's friend is an RA. And so it was totally cool that we were there, and we met one of the night watchmen there who was really nice, and they had LPs. They had a turntable that was hooked up, and I really liked it. They had a lot of solid tunes too, a lot of good LPs. They had a lot of Beatles, and I got into, I've always been a big fan of the Beatles, but I don't have too much on CD. Dad, I grew up on it on LP, and Dad has, I've been telling people about, you know, not only there are sonic differences between LPs and CDs, due to the analog versus digital recording and conversions. The music we're listening to, by the way, though it's modern, was actually recorded via reel-to-reel, via analog. And there's just a difference in tone. You can pick it up immediately. Anyway, I was listening to this, and I told people that one of the huge differentiating factors between an LP and a CD is the artwork. You know, you have these huge, I mean, with CDs, you know, you've got artwork, you have your inlays, but they just lack the scope You know, they're not, an LP is like six, 7 times the size of a CD. So I remember as a kid being on the couch, and my first love, an album they had there at the school, my first love was Rubber Soul. That was the first album I ever fell in love with as a kid. I was probably 5 or so. And I loved the album they had there, and I came, you know, I reunited with this album. Very good album, really check it out. Really very good album. But I told my wife about the Magical Mystery Tour album, which they also had there. And I told her about this photo of John Lennon with this big, you know, shovel of spaghetti, giving it to an overly happy woman who was just ready to chow on it. And I remember mentioning, I mentioned to her rather, the John Lennon's crazy grin. You know, it was real kind of, I don't know, something kind of sinister in the grin. Sure enough, they had that, and I showed her that. They had it. It was huge, you know. I'm like, there it is, from my childhood. I told you, that's freaky, that's freaky. And yeah, part of it also, she was duly impressed by the freakiness of it, but she didn't really quite get it the same way I got as a kid, because I am a kid, and therefore things of that size and that nature are immediately just but also I didn't understand the concept album at all, much less the concept of that album in particular. So I was like, what is the wall, I don't get the walrus thing. Anyway, it was good, it was good. Really nice to get back down to some tunes. It was kind of interesting to be around college music taste as well. The more, it seems anyway, the more outlandish the tunage, the more into it they are. And I know that people might say that of myself. Currently these guys are rather obscure, and I'm coming into this, like I said, 10 years into the game. I mean, these guys have been around for a little bit. These guys being Daptone, and this is the second album of the group that we just heard, although they came around in 2006, I think. Anyway, the point is, good music is good music, regardless of what kind of audience it attracts. But it is very interesting to see, there was an iPod set up for the dining experience. We did have a Thanksgiving meal, and it was very wonderfully coordinated by the kids who were staying there. And turkey, the whole bit. I mean, light, dark, cranberry relish, which was really good. A number of great things. They put things together, but as they were making it, they had an iPod going. And, you know, I'm not saying all emo is whiny. I'm not saying that all indie is kind of amateur, because it's not. Some of it's really solid, but some of it is whiny and amateur. Anyway, I'm not against it. I'm just not necessarily for it. It's one of the main reasons I wanted to present solid music to you guys without having to go so far as to line up too many indie acts, because frankly, you know, it can take a while for me to burn it right. You know, to burn it in to get used to things. You know, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it was a good trip. It was a good trip.